newspapers. A light snow had begun to fall because of the cold and the bad weather. The papers weren't selling very well. The little boy saw a policeman coming down the sidewalk, and he stopped him and he said, "Sir," he said, "I wonder if you might tell me where a little boy could find a good warm place to sleep tonight." He said, "You see, sir, I live down here in the alley in a cardboard box. It gets mighty cold on nights like this." The policeman said, "Yes, son." He said, "I believe I can help you." He said, "If you'll just go down here to the next corner." He said, "There's a big white house there. Just go up on the porch and knock on the door. And when the lady answers, just say, John 3:16. Well, the little lad thought it was kind of strange, but nevertheless, he went down to the next corner, and sure enough, there he found that big old white house. Knocked on the door, and when the lady answers, not knowing what else to say, he just said, John 3:16. The lady opened the door, and she invited the little lad to come in. She took him into the parlor there. She set him down in front of a big old fireplace and an old rocking chair, and she turned and left the room for a few moments. The little boy looked around the room and felt the warmth of that fireplace, and he thought to himself, John 3:16. I don't understand it, but it sure does make a cold boy warm. A few minutes, the lady returned, and she said, "Son," she said, "are you hungry? Would you like to have something to eat?" He said, "Yes, ma'am." He said, "I haven't eaten in about 3 days, and I can stand some food." She took him into the dining room there, and he found a big old table just laid down with all sorts of good food. He ate and he ate until he could eat no more. He thought to himself, John 3:16. I don't understand it, but it sure does make a hungry boy full. The lady took him upstairs then she'd drawn him a big old bathtub full of good hot water. He got in that bathtub and he thought, I've never been in a bathtub before. I just get to wash off when they drain the fire hydrants in the street or something. I've never been in a real bathtub. My. John 3:16. I don't understand it, but it sure does make a dirty boy clean. After he'd had his bath, the lady took him into a bedroom. She laid him down there on a big old feather bed. Covered him up with some good warm quilts, kissed him goodnight, and turned out the lights. Little boy looked out the window and he saw that by now the snow had begun to fall even harder. He heard the wind, it was whipping against the side of the house, and thought to himself, John 3:16. I don't understand it, but it sure does make a tired boy rest. After he had a good night's sleep, the lady took him downstairs to the dining room the next morning, and she had a big breakfast set on the table, and once again he ate until he could eat no more. She took him back into the parlor there and set him down in that rocking chair in front of the fireplace once again. This time she had a little stool, and she pulled over and she sat down on it in front of him, and she had a big old Bible laying on her lap. She looked at the little boy and she said, "Son," she said, "do you understand John 3:16? The little boy down his head, he said, "No, ma'am." He said, "I don't." He said, "When that policeman said that to me last night," he said, "that's the first time I'd ever heard that in all my life." The lady opened that big old Bible, and she read these words. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. She told the little lad of Jesus. She told us his sinless life as he walked the shores of Galilee. She told of the many miracles performed with his hands, how the blind were made to see, and the deaf were made to hear, and the dumb were made to speak, and even the lame leaped and walked. She told how that at his name he calmed the storms, and even the dead were raised. Then she told of the mockery and the trial in Pilate's courtroom. She told of the suffering and the shame, the agony of the cross at Calvary's Hill, as Jesus hung there to pay the sin debt we might be awesome. And right there in front of that fireplace, that little lad knelt to his knees. He invited Jesus Christ to come into his heart, be his Lord and his Savior. As he stood to his feet, he raised his little hand to me. He said, my, John 3:16. I still don't understand it, but it sure does make a lost boy saved. My brothers and sisters, after all of these years of knowing him and serving him and walking with him, and him being my companion to Brother Dean and being my comforter, I still don't understand why that the only begotten Son of God would leave the very portals of glory and come to this foul, sinful earth and suffer and die for an old sinner like me. I still don't understand John 3:16. But praise God, it sure does make a lost boy saved.